Hey guys, this is Introducing Emmy, and we're back with another Redline Tuesday. This one was sent to us by June, and I recognize their full name. I believe they read my webcomic or have bought my books before, so I'm fairly familiar with them. I think if they're the right person. And this is from their webcomic called FKA Strings.smackjeeves.com if you want the full link, but FKA Strings are just strings. And normally these pages are black and white, but I have a little filter on them right now for the redlining. Now, I'm not going to be redlining anatomy so much, though, you know me, I can't keep my hands off that kind of stuff. I think they more or less want me to just look at like the way the comic is presented, like the layouts and the text bubbles and everything. So we're going to do that. And real quick before I get going, I just wanted to mention I'm using my new microphone. I hope you can tell. And I just bumped it. Great. So, yeah. So let's get going here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to establish our live area. And the live area to me is basically anywhere where there's art that won't be cut off if the book goes to print. Now, I understand for webcomics that's not a huge concern, but it's still good to keep your text in it. You don't want your text like running like right up against the edge of the page, you know. So yeah, this is our live area in here, and I'm trying to think what you would call this white space. It's been a little while. There is an area in print where the white space is just that's like cut off, you know, usually. But anyway, so this is our live space. This is an extension of our gutters out here. I'm trying to make it even. By the way, I'm holding shift to draw these straight lines if you're curious. And a little bit more comic anatomy. So these dark areas that are between the panels are called gutters. And then these are the actual panels. And then if there were lines around these panels, they'd be called, that would be the frame. Technically the frame is there, but it's disguised by the panel. So anyway. So let's get going here. First thing I want to say is when I do landscape panels, I like to have them go all the way off to really show as much of the scene as I possibly can. Even if it's going to get cut a little bit, I don't really care. It really like opens up the page and creates like a moment between the characters. So usually if I'm doing like big establishing shots like this is like the first thing that I do is I make this extend all the way out. So, but again, I need to preface this by saying this is how I do comics. This is my preferences, especially when it comes to not necessarily horror comics or some of the other work I've done or like mystery comics, but like Trying Human, you know. So like if I was going to do Trying Human, this is what I would do. So, yep, okay. Next thing, big rule of thumb, don't have text covering up important anatomy. And in fact, this is a perfect piece of dialogue that could go here. I think I might have my correction turned up a little too high. And the reason I say it's perfect is because it's flat at the top and then narrows down so you can fit that like right in here. And I'll get to the text in a little bit to show a trick about like text. And text should be pretty much the first thing you lay out, and then you work around it. And then this is fine. And then here, I wouldn't recommend having a bubble touching the top of a gutter like this. I would put the bubble over here, a little off center, just to make the composition a little more interesting. There's nothing really tense going on right here, so you don't necessarily need to have the bubble right in the middle. I would only do that if like there was some like groundbreaking information, you know, your dog died kind of stuff. This is nice right here. This is a perfect panel. I like this. The only thing I would be careful of is this gutter is a little bigger than this one, so maybe just trim it up a little bit. And hey, I am all about any place that you can get a little more room for art is like the best, because that's the meat. And I would also I would not have this panel be necessarily so shy. It's a little more tucked in on this side. I don't like doing that. I don't know why. I think in this example, it kind of looks a little off center or not framed correctly or something. This panel, if you want to have black cutting in, I would recommend the black cutting this way rather than, see how the black is cutting in behind this word balloon and you get this really unusual big gutter. I would recommend cutting it this way, or even like right at his eye line. So this would, let me turn my correction down a little bit. It's kind of, wow, yeah, it's really high. Oh, I was inking last night before I went to bed, so I had it probably up really high. So this would then be black back here. And then have the same gutter size here, here. So this is all black. Like that. Okay. And then again, try to keep everything nice and even. I try not to get too nutty with my panel layouts, just because the art should speak for itself. You know, the drama should come from the characters' expressions and dialogue more than like and I know you're not like getting like totally wild or anything here with the panels, but sometimes I'll see like angle, and I used to be guilty of that. All my panels were angled, and I don't know why, but I thought it added like a lot of dynamicism, is that a word, to the comic, and it really just made things a little more cluttered than they needed to be, and kind of weird and wonky, and didn't really add any energy, you know. But that was how I didn't know, Mom. Same deal here. Once I redrew this panel a little bit, the sorry is not touching, I would just move it over a little bit. I have a rule where I try, if a bubble is floating in the center of a panel, like here, it has to be the same distance from the top to the side. So this should be the same distance, and this should be the same distance, okay? And I just eyeball it. I mean, I don't measure it or anything, but it's good for your estimation skills. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do text real quick. I actually have a big, long tutorial. Well, it's not that long, but I have a decent tutorial about this on my Patreon account. IntroducingEmy.patreon.com if you're interested. All right, and I'm going to do it in red. So I'm going to use a different font than you, just because I don't know what font you're using. I'm just going to use my default Train Human font. So let's see here. There might be some lag because I'm recording, so you're going to see some typos and doubled letters and things like that. Okay, so in webcomic, or in comics in general, the I's at the front of the sentence need to be capitalized. It's a little hard to tell with this font, but I think that is supposed to be a capitalized I, so that's cool. So another thing I like to do is, after I set up my text, this is a Photoshop thing, I double click on the text layer, and then that opens up the styles menu, and this can apply styles. Go to stroke. Now for Trying Human, I would add it's either a 10 or a 20 stroke. It's kind of disappearing on me. Because this is not the correct DPI and everything, I'm just going to add a teeny stroke. Let's make it like 5. And what this does is it creates an area that nothing can touch or get that close to the text. That's like a protective wall, you know. Okay, do that. So for Trying Human, I like all my text capitalized, like all of it. I don't know, I just think it looks better. Okay. Another thing I like to do is I like to start at the bottom of my text and work back up this actually, you know what, I think you had it laid out better than I'm probably going to end up doing it, but let me just see what happens here. Yeah, no, I like that too. You know, it's a different font though, so it might change it. So I like to make my breaks at commas, periods, so that I don't get like kind of, there's times when you just can't avoid it where you have to end a sentence like right in the middle of your line of text, or like right in the middle of a bubble or something. I don't like doing it, but it happens and you can't avoid it. Okay, so this is the big bubble that I was interested in, and I'm doing a lot of this with my redos on Trying Human. So he says, don't worry about it, comma, little Leon. And then, so I hit a period, and now I'm going to hit enter and shuttle down to the next line. I'm sure you're busy with uni. They are not American. Just figured that out. Now he starts a sentence with and. I'm going to let that fly because they're talking. And this is not like grammar school. But I'm going to readdress it in a second. Sorry, I'm trying to think and type and talk all at the same time. Okay, so hat should be bold, and maybe, depending on how obnoxious this character is, even a bigger size. All right, I should be italicized. So here's what we're going to do. Since and is now its own sentence, these are now going to be two different bubbles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut that. Boink. Okay. Okay, so this is all one sentence. Let's italicize sure, because he's saying, and I'm sure there are plenty of things, and that you could probably even do plenty as well if you wanted to. I'm just getting fancy, but you know. So now we got that, and then let's go up and work on this one. Now here, if I wanted to, I could make this probably into its own bubble. I don't really want to do that though. Like the don't worry about it, Lillian. Like I bet I could make that into its own thing, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go like this. And let me look at my gutters again. Okay. So we are going to go like this, and we're going to move this down. So it's just like a little catty corner to that one. I usually try to leave about a line's worth of space between like my rows of dialogue. And then we're just going to select these layers, and first we need to go to the first one where we apply the stroke, and we're going to right click and say copy layer style, and then select these with the shift and say paste layer style. So now they all have that little protective boundary. See? Oh, look how good I got it. They're like, I'm getting pretty good at that now. I've been doing it a lot lately. So anyway, so now you can draw your bubbles. So I noticed you're using like the perfectly round bubbles like I do for Trying Human, which is fine. Everybody has their own way of doing bubbles. You know, for anime, they're more vertical, or for manga, excuse me, they're more vertical. And I know it's kind of fun to see that the reason they're vertical is because in Japanese, the text goes, you know, vertically, But some people who do their comics in English are trying to use the vertical bubbles just because the aesthetic's nice. One aesthetic I like is the bubbles that are kind of like this, and then the dialogue's just like just a teeny little thing in the middle. You know, I'm sure there are classic comic artists who would hear that and be like, oh, this is disgusting, you know, because like there's a lot of old school techniques that I feel are getting a little dated and limit self-expression. And the bubble, the way the text is shown is a part of the art, and it's not like this established, it's not like a book, you know what I mean? A book has a way that it should be laid out, and even that you could kind of argue. If you've ever read like James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake or any of the Lemony Snicket books, you know there's some like really strange ways that they've laid out text in that book to add interest to the story. So I'm really a proponent of bubbles being whatever the hell you want them to be. Suck my dick otherwise. Okay, anyway, so the other thing I would say here is this, I don't know, other than like, so there's like they're like leaning on a fence or something here, right? So I'm just gonna just vaguely touch on the anatomy. So let's just put his little pawsies out on the wall like that. And there's like trees and shit in the background. Trees and shit. Another thing here is to make sure that these lines stay thick, and then this character's lines all stay thinner because he's in the background here. Another way to add depth is to put like a fade, like to lighten this here so that it's a little harder, like so that these, because what it does is it instantly makes this character look like he's on the same plane if you're just using line weight to scale that. These are like little nitpicky things, but they're things to think about for future reference. I would say with the ice cream cone, I would try to show the whole cone. Which might involve just like moving the hand or like redrawing the fist a little bit. Just something like that. Again, it's just a little thing. I like the cone. You might even want to put a crack in it to show that the character's like annoyed, because I think he's supposed to be annoyed. Look at that. He's annoyed. He's like, bull. Bull. So anyway, that's about that. Or that's about it. One last, again, these are so nitpicky, but if this character, he's only turning just his head at this point to this character. Sorry, I'm just measuring like where their feet and their heads are to each other. The head is fine at this angle, but then I would maybe like keep the shoulder, you know, so it's only his head that's turned, just something like that. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. Next! There's 3 of these pages, so I'm trying to like chug through them pretty quick. So here we go. I actually haven't looked at this page as long, but we're going to do basically all the same things here. Let me lock those layers off. You know, I had somebody the other day in my stream be like, why do you lock all your layers? So I don't draw them. The end. I like it. I like what's going on here. So again, I'm not sure like why this is cut so high, but if you want, since you have this room down here, you could cut this a little lower. And here, oh my gosh, we're going to go whackety schmackety. We're going to put an angled panel in. Because it's like really getting to this guy now. Or girl. I don't know. I didn't even think to ask. Oops. I apologize if I've been misgendering your character this whole time. I'm kind of a shitlord. Hold on. I can't even. I have to use the mouse real quick. Boop. Like that. Okay. But again, if we do that, then we gotta sync this. Lower. Like that. Oh my gosh. It's so good. Okay. So this is fine. I think for the I'm just thinking, like, is there any way to make these panels more dramatic? Or their bodies are kind of doing like the hips are turned this way, but the front of the body's a little more this way. I would just say, like, maybe spread the character's legs slightly, or have them facing with their body more this way, and maybe have this character. Nah, it's fine. I mean, those are just little things, but I just erased some of my guide. Okay, so these characters are like, they are laughing. I would set them higher in the panel. By the way, if you're ever like, you know, watching me, and I've kind of mentioned this in other Redlines, if I'm ever like doing this and you're just like, no, buzz off, then that's fine. So these two are like laughing. They're just like, get a load of this guy. Woo! I don't know what they're laughing about. This guy just looks like he's screaming. He's just like, ah! Okay. So anyway, they're doing that. That way, you can get him more in line with these characters. And then here, oh, man, I would totally somehow like slice this, or like I would put like a panel. Oh, what am I doing? I'm like so excited. I'm like, oh, she kept doing it again. I'm like ripping panels apart here. I would like totally interject another panel here that shows the focus, the pure rage and insanity, though, just showing like the character is, their focus is drawn. You might even want to like tilt it or something like that. You know, you could get like totally, but then if you're going to do that, make sure that you have a way to establish like where these characters are in relationship to each other, because it's like, so there's this show I watched called MST. It used to be on television when I was a kid, but whenever characters were kind of like shot from like the chest up and they didn't really establish where they were like in a shot, the guys who were making fun of the movie would always go, help me, I'm in another dimension, you know, because you couldn't tell like where the characters were in relationship to each other. So just remember that if you're going to do interjections like this, you need to show long shots that have the characters like interacting. Otherwise, I love the ha ha ha. In fact, I would have it even more cluttered. I would have that shit like all over the place in here, just being noisy. I would even have it like bigger ones like overlapping these characters, just showing like how overwhelming it is. Same thing here. If I did one big ha, I would make this bigger. Oh wait, no, I see what you're doing. You're having it like get bigger here. Well, then make this bigger. This can be little, but I would turn the body a little more. Maybe put the head down more. And I would make this ha like maybe even breaking out of this panel or something. And I would have the haws like leading down at an angle like this. Oh my god, we're getting so wackety schmackety up in here. It's great. So anyway, and then same deal, having it like blast through the head, like it's like, you know. And then I would keep the other haws in the background here, like inside the panels. But then more haws for the whole page. Okay, so it got a little ridiculous at the end there, but that's my opinion on that page. Next. Okay. So, I should real quickly mention these pages are not like one right after the other plot-wise. They're all like different pages. They just kind of picked some random ones for me to look at. Okay, so. Okay. Again, there's some empty space here. I would try to utilize this in any way I can, and I think right here, let's say, like, I don't want to block this nice negative space, but let me dip it up. But comma and then I might make that a little smaller. That's fine, like right here. I'm not sure like who's like, because I haven't seen the pages before or after this, so I'm not sure like who's skating or whose feet I'm looking at. But let's do something like this. My little ugly TV bubbles. I'm not sure why these are called TV bubbles. They're the bubbles that aren't like perfectly elliptical. They kind of have like a little chub to them. I don't know how to describe that, but anyway, that's what that is. So I would put this bubble maybe like overlapping a little bit, but make sure that the tail goes off panel back up to the person who's talking. Just a tip, if you have tails extending off panel, that's fine. Just always make sure tails go to the talk hole of the character. I would be a little nervous about doing this because it almost starts to look telepathic. So try to keep tails always like as near to the character's pie hole as you can. This is good here. I like the gulp panel. This is a really cute panel. Same with this. This is fine. I don't have any problems with this. If anything, because you have this space, what I would do is I would make the gulp panel a little smaller. You can fight me on this if you want. I'll meet you outside. How about that? Okay, so make the gulp panel a little smaller. And if you want to show more of it, you can or can't, whatever. And then I would, this is gonna get a little wackety schmadackety. So I feel like this is a big moment for them. This character's reaching out. He's totally checking out the chest hair. I would give the chest hair panel more presence because I like it. No, just because I say so. So I want to say, that I had a lot of fun today. And I'm glad we talked because I would have missed out on this otherwise. I would not have this character facing forward if this character is, especially since it's like one right after the other. It's like facing forward, facing forward, facing forward. It's fine if it's two because this is, I don't know what you call them. I always called them animated panels, but they're panels that kind of have a storyboard look to them where it's like you're getting like, you know, you get this shot and then you get a close up of the same shot. It's sort of like one movement within panels. I might even extend this one off this direction just for fun. I'm just thinking how much text. Let me actually see like what I can do with this text before I start telling you to move stuff around, because my name is Roxy Andrews and I'm here to stay. Okay. Thank you for being patient while I type this out. Oh, the lag is killing my keyboard. By the way, can you hear my mechanical keyboard? Okay. Oops. I can't see my keyboard because of my huge microphone. Okay. So when a character ends with an ellipses, which is the ... Let me get a little closer here. It's kind of low res, so I'm not going way in, but for stuttering, I tend to make that italics and then just like slightly smaller. Just to show that it's not, I don't know, it helps focus the reader's attention on the keyword, but still adds that effect of like the stutter. I have a character who stutters a lot, so I feel you. But yeah, look at all these typos. Oh my goodness. So ellipses there. Otherwise is huge, so we're gonna have to like cram that down at the bottom. Look at me trying to, I'm like, I don't know about this. So another thing in comics is you never go like that, like you would do if you were writing a book. That is like emergency comic bubbling only. All right. I might be wrong about this. I just like I feel that this space up here can be used. And so my original idea was, let me show you my idea. My original idea was to have this panel over top of this one, so you get something like this, but like with the space used more appropriately than this. It's a little uneven. So you get the oops, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not drawing this very well, but you get the idea. Get the eye here. Looking down, please. And then also the hand. something drawn better than this, but have the hand down here. I think that what's throwing me off is this is not light enough for me to draw through without being distracted by the art underneath it, but I'm not adjusting it. Put the mitt down here. Because these things I feel are kind of happening simultaneously. You may even want to like push this over a little. Then take this panel, chest hair panel, push this over, maybe make it slightly narrower. Now, I know this looks crowded, but we are utilizing space for a moment of drama. Okay, so then move this panel down here. And you can put the text. I would actually put the text like maybe cutting these two panels. So he's talking like da 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 da, and then have the cut in really close. I'm not making fun of your art, by the way. I'm just not. I'm trying to get through this very quickly, and it's getting wild. Chest hair. That way it shows that this character is like. By the way, I don't know if this character is focused on the chest hair, but that's the impression I'm getting. So they're like, oh, chest hair. And I would even try to keep them like that line of sight going the same way too. But yeah, I would have this text balloon cutting these two, because then it shows that he's still like, yep, talking, and this character's like, I'm gonna touch it. And then this is like, still bothering me. Let me put these down here. I'm trying to think where these characters are in relation to each other. So just so we're not breaking the 180 rule, I'm gonna guess this guy is like here, and then he's like pretty close, and I would show him more of like a 3/4 view here. Let me try to reorganize this text a little. Now, what you may end up having to do is, depending if you were going to do this, if you were like going to go with this plan, some of this text, like the text balloons, may have to fall behind the characters. And depending on your level of comfort of doing that, you know, that might change how you want to go about doing this. I'm very weird about having text bubbles cover up characters like faces, hands, feet. Pretty much like if they have like a tie on or something interesting on their chest. I don't like to have anything covering. Oops, excuse me, I bumped my mic. I don't like to have anything covering insignias. I feel like it looks like I'm trying to hide something. And girl, I'm not trying to hide shit. So like I don't like doing that. I don't like having stuff covered up. So I will put the text balloons, I'll have them fall back behind the character but above the background. So I would just like maybe move gulp panel over, or maybe like, hell, you could even oh, that would be good. You could like center these two. So like I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. You could like center them. I think that would look nice like that. And just make this black. So I've completely butchered your pages. Hope you don't mind. But I hope that gives you kind of an idea of like things to think about or different ways to do layouts or something or other. Yeah. I like it. I'm just looking over my work. I like it a lot. So, and a real quick thing, if you're going to do this kind of a panel here, let me just turn this off for now. So like, let's say you're going to do panel here and then 2 horizontals. The rule in comics is that if you read from left to right, you have to do it like this. You have to do it like this because what the eye naturally does is it scans the top of the panel and it's like, oh, look at all this information, and looks at it, and then it moves to the next upper right, the next panel to the right that's at the top, and then goes down. So this is how we read. If you flip it, demons will come into your house at night and take you away forever. No, the human eye gets a little confused. It doesn't know if it should go like this or like this. And then you start seeing shit where like authors like put arrows in to their panel layout. Don't do that. You have to do it the other way. Again, demons will come. But every other version of this is like a-okay because otherwise we go like this. Humans read in a Z pattern largely when it comes to comics. It's called the Z scan. However, it's kind of interesting. They did a little study. I was reading a little, it wasn't super scientific, but it got published. It was a little article about how humans read comic books, and they found that people who read American style comics have the most constrained way of looking at their panels, whereas people who read American and manga or comics from other nationalities that scan in the opposite direction, they have the most fluid way of reading panels. So they're more able to perceive different panel layouts than Americans can. So however, that does not give you permission to go out there and just be willy-nilly with your panels. Okay, so just always keep, the Z path in mind on how people are going to look at your comics. That being said, if you do layouts like this, try to keep text towards the top. I know in this one, I put the text near the bottom, but that's only because it immediately goes up into a different panel, and then this naturally flows over. So, but if the text was down here, it might it wouldn't be that bad. It would just create a different kind of arc to the way that the art reads to the person. Anyway, so this is just like a little thing. It's just we're like way over time by like almost 15 minutes. So awesome. I'm gonna do a little yawn, a little stretch. So if you have art that you want me to look at, either to do anatomy or comic-y crap, send it to emy.bitner at IntroducingEmy.com with Redline Tuesday in the subject line, and it will filter into a special folder where I do all my organizations for Redlines. And that contact information we found in the description below. I just want to thank June from fkastrings.smackjeeves.com. I hope I got that link right. I'll put that link down in the description as well for sending in these 3 comic pages for us to look at and for me to go ham on. So I apologize. And, or I apologize if I was too hammed up. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys like my new microphone, and I will see you next time. Bye.